feel about? Like, what's the benefit? The benefits and
Yeah, good.
That's good. Why are you so cheap? What in the world?
Don't get on me.
You know, here. I'll take a picture of that. Dude,
we might have enough to
how
cover.
much you pay for old reporters in there?
Yesterday, when I was in court trying to get some paperwork, they sent, I was with Brian, they sent a note to the chief professor. So that was an extra bit.
That's pretty cheap. No, seriously though, man, the pricing is surprising to me.
Yeah, yeah.
apologize for running late. We should be getting going in a few minutes here, so sit tight and thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're inside. So that is nice. Nothing else.
Standing in standing water.
It's dry in here, so.
You soaked the last couple days. Frozen. John Layer, can you still freezing?
I'm in over for that. So good.
Okay, standing by. We're standing by. We just got the official, we had a red zone, 2 minute offense.
I didn't know that.
That's some great ears, man.
Perfect.
That's okay.
Sounds like a hook and rock song. Oh, that's not there. She's pausing.
Oh no, it's just.
Something like that, or figuring out when's it happen. Good. Believe it is. My question is, what's everybody else do? You got like 200 things set up and switching around. How many permanent changes do you have like working as well? I've seen 2 of them. I've seen her. Oh, that's true. Don't know how I feel about that. It's true. I'll let you know. You took that trash comment from me.
You can still do it.
I
That was a
don't
good
wanna
one.
do it.
Why not? You could do it this summer.
Everybody knew about that one. I was like,
She told me that, she was like, there's people reached out for more coverage.
yeah, well, I stopped
Oh, no.
because, well, something happened where like, I was like, what's your schedule?
It was weird. It was
And
definitely.
it was kind of like, I think I was going on a trip or something. Wait, actually, how long ago was that?
I really doubted you with that one.
Well,
I was
no
being
way,
simple.
that's a story where I thought it was,
So
it's a
tell
good
the
story, that's a story where you just put the law on it.
Did you do all the man today?
And did you
I did
see
it yesterday.
I think,
Yeah.
didn't CBS Sunday morning pick it up?
I didn't see,
Like
because
after she got
after
a
you
little?
did it, I was like, I'm never looking at
It's-
this
yeah.
clown lady again.
You could have said that. It was a funny day. Like I said, when I
Gary Brown said they hope to have everybody back in their homes and stuff. It was such a
Actually, that's a good store.
I thought it was.
Especially if you could go out with her. But if you couldn't go
Yeah.
pick up trash with her, it'd be like, what's the point? Yeah.
They gotta have like something.
Well, it seems like that was also weird because talking to her in the messaging, she was in character, I think.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, it
What's
was
going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah.
When you got the cheater story, I wanted that one.
Oh, yeah,
It's
well, that was
probably
just
that.
weird. That story was fun to do.
Oh, look at that.
It's in there. Just go to feedback. Ask them. No, I'm in the presser.
I turned something else that day too.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was the good story today. But that one was weird because I'd be like, I know a lot about you, but you don't know anything about me.
Wait,
She didn't know that me and Allie were
Oh.
husband and wife, so it was like one of those where it was like, yes, so I know a lot about you.
she's so great though.
She's cool. And then she was at 25 when I was at 5, but I never like ran into her.
Hmm.
Something's going on up there. Okay. Changes in red. Cool.
Yes. Hi.
That's fine.
She just changed stuff in the toss.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're getting closer. Sorry, there's some paperwork that we need to get over before we can start. And,
You've lost all credibility now.
oh, yeah.
like within the next 10-ish minutes.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you for the update.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Sorry to keep you guys waiting. I hate to start these things late, so.
It's okay, thank you.
Are you watching it? No. You're killing paint.
We haven't said anything to each other in the last 20 minutes, so just make sure we're still okay.
Yeah. Oh, we are? I was hoping for an easy day, just a 6. Relax.
Should have brought a deck of cards, Todd.
I was just telling them, years ago before phones, what you did in the press conference. Read a newspaper.
Starting to feel like I'm in a tight spot.
some live mics on here, so, on some live streams, so just wanna let everyone know. And we'll be done as soon as I can, I promise. I apologize again, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Chris. And Oakland County. He's not, he just responded. He was, no, listen, he was responding to,
Should be heading in momentarily. 5 more minutes, y'all could have signed your name on the attendance sheet and earn credit for class.
stand by, John.
Yep, you're good. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming and thank you for your patience. My name is David Williams. I'm the Chief Assistant here at the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. Standing here with us are Assistant Prosecutor Kanika Ferenczi, Assistant Prosecutor Lauren Benninger, Chief of our Special Victims Unit Sarah Green, our Chief of Administration Betsy Haig, and of course Prosecutor McDonald. We're also joined by detectives who've been involved in the case from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. That's Lieutenant Sam Marsban and Detective John Brish. Prosecutor McDonald will announce the charging decision today and take your questions, but before she does that, I want to remind everyone that charges are only allegations and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Also, the details in the prosecutor's remarks today come from the swear-to in 50th District Court earlier today. Prosecutor McDonald.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First, I'd like to announce that we have authorized 3 charges of first-degree child abuse against Kelly Bryant, a 34-year-old resident of Pontiac. My office has already advised the court in the neglect proceedings that we will be asking to terminate the defendant's parental rights. In every case of child abuse, my office focuses first and foremost on the best interest of the child or children and on holding those responsible for abuse accountable. The 3 children in this case suffered unimaginable abuse and neglect over a long period of time. Thankfully, they've now been rescued from that, and our first priority has been and will continue to be their safety and well-being. I want to briefly address, though, why we're here. Since the first announcement over the weekend by the sheriff, this case has captured the attention of the people across our community, our county, our state, and even internationally, because people are rightfully concerned about the welfare of these children. And we're holding this press conference because, like all other decisions, we balance the interests of public safety, media attention and inquiries, and balancing everyone's right to a fair trial, which is why the events and facts that are disclosed here today are strictly confined to what's already been placed on the record in the swear-to this morning in the 50th District Court. When their circumstances became public, including the photos of the home, although law enforcement did not identify the defendant, she was quickly identified on social media and also has been reported in other news media outlets, which is why we are naming her today. We have recently, luckily, been fortunate enough to, for the first time ever, hire our public information officer, Jeff Watrick, who's in the back of the room. Many of you have already spoken to and will continue to, and we're lucky to have him. The children are currently staying with a relative. All 3 children received immediate medical attention at a local hospital, and they were interviewed by trained forensic interviewers at Care House. Considering what they've experienced, they appear to be doing okay. Obviously, the trauma here is significant, and my office, including our victim services section, will make sure these children are supported during this process. Today, the charges are 3 counts of child abuse in the first degree. This is the most serious charge for child abuse, and if convicted, Ms. Bryant could face a sentence of up to life in prison. In the swear-to this morning, on the record, it was stated that in 2019, suspect Kelly Bryant was living at the home, which I'm not disclosing the address at this time, in Pontiac, Michigan, with her 4 children. At some point between 20 and 2021, the suspect moved out of her home, leaving 3 of her children abandoned in that location, while 1 of her children went to live with their father. On February 14th, 2025, police were called to the home by the landlord. Police learned that the landlord was concerned for the welfare of Ms. Bryant, who had not paid rent on the property since October of 2024. Police entered with the landlord and discovered her 3 children, ages 12, 13, and 15. Her daughters were hiding in a bathroom that was filled with feces, piles of trash, and completely non-functional, while her son was hiding in another room. Police were astonished to find anyone in the location because it appeared to be uninhabitable, with piles of garbage and refuse several feet high, including large amounts of human excrement. The children were afraid to come out of their hiding places and to speak with the police. Police had to repeatedly advise the children that they were there to help and they were safe. The children's bodies and clothing were covered in feces, and the girls had difficulty physically walking outside of the residence. In addition to the physical difficulty, they appeared to be and were immediately overstimulated upon leaving the residence. All 3 children were transported via ambulance to the hospital and showed signs of severe neglect. At the hospital, the children struggled with completing basic hygiene tasks like flushing a toilet and brushing their teeth because they had not done it in years. The children were forensically interviewed and described having virtually no physical contact with their mother, suspect Bryant, or the outside world in several years. The girls had not left the residence in several years, and her son had only left the home to go into the yard approximately 2 times, never venturing away from the house more than to check the mailbox. During his interview, her son stated that he would text their mother when their food supply was running low and she would have food delivered to the residence. The children shared that during the years they were concealed in the home, suspect Bryant failed to provide toilet paper, soap, or shampoo. The defendant instructed the kids that they were not to answer the door or leave the house. All 3 children expressed fear about what their mother's response would be if they left the home. Defendant concealed the children from family and friends and lied about who was caring for the kids and their whereabouts. The defendant took the active steps of lying and concealing to make sure the children went undiscovered, and she took these actions knowing that her children would suffer serious physical and emotional harm as a result. Those are the statements made in the swear-to this morning. And again, these are allegations. I do want to point out and thank all the officers that were on scene that day. I personally viewed the videos and images and was struck at what a difficult situation it was, but in the face of that difficulty, offered compassion to these kids. I also want to thank Detective John Brish and Lieutenant Sam Marsban for their dedication in working this case, and of course the assistant prosecutors involved, Chief of Administration Betsy Haig, Chief of our SVU Sarah Green, APA Lauren Benninger, Chief of the Juvenile Division Kelly Collins, and APA Kanika Ferenczi for their diligent efforts in this case. At present, we've not been presented with a request for criminal charges against any other individuals. That does not mean that won't happen in the future. I just can't speak to it at this point. Morally, there is plenty of responsibility to go around for how this was allowed to happen. However, these 3 kids were entrusted to the care of their mother, Kelly Bryant, and the evidence suggests that she effectively abandoned them to a revolting pit of refuse and squalor. There must be consequences for those actions. The defendant is presently in custody. The 3 children in this case were interviewed at Care House, and I want to emphasize how important Care House is to this community. These kids were interviewed in a safe environment by an experienced, trained forensic interviewer, and these interviews are important in all child abuse cases. They allow each child the chance to tell us their story without the influence of the abuser and without using leading questions that could taint their testimony. I can't emphasize enough how important Care House is. If you suspect a child is abused or neglected, you too can report this to CPS. The hotline is 855-444-3911. And I urge anyone who suspects that a child is being abused or neglected to report that using that number. We need to make sure that every child is safe and well cared for. And before I take questions, I just want to remind you that these charges, again, are only allegations, and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Questions?
Not having been to the area, neighbors, anybody? I mean, I think what maybe people struggle with is how intimidated by their mother, yes, but how they could not even venture out of the home, or just nobody knowing that they were there. Or can you add context into, how that can happen?
I can only comment on what's been placed on the record. That's my ethical duty. But I will say that we see time and time again, victims of severe abuse of all ages make decisions that don't seem reasonable to us. And what we know is that's very common. And there's a multitude of reasons why they didn't leave the home. We just don't know that yet. Yes?
Have prosecutors or deputies interviewed the fathers of the children?
They have. Yes.
Multiple fathers or one father?
I think it's already public record that of the 4 kids, there are 2 fathers.
Prosecutor McDonald,
Yes.
What stands out about this case to you? I mean, it's a pretty significant child abuse case.
That's a difficult question and a really good question. I said yesterday, and I've said this to the sheriff personally, we say a lot, this is the worst I've ever seen. And I've stopped saying that because every time I say that, I see something worse. It was unbelievable what they were living with for years. Unbelievable. It wouldn't be surroundings where you would want any living creature living in. Creature or animal, or particularly human beings. I mean, these kids, not to have even basic hygiene tools. And I guess what stands out the most for me is no love. There was nobody there to care for them for between 3 and 4 years. No parent, nobody physically present to let them know that they were safe and they were loved. Yes?
Did she have any prior contact with CPS or a prior criminal record?
I can't comment on that.
Okay.
Is she being held on any outstanding charges, or is it just on this and then she'll be arraigned tomorrow?
We are not aware of any other holds or matters that she would be held under. At this moment, she's being held because of these pending charges. Now they're official, and she'll be arraigned, I believe, tomorrow.
Can you provide more context, appreciating what you said about, you mentioned that he would text his mother, one of the older boy. So he had access to a phone apparently, but...
All the children had access to the phones. They all had their own phones.
So would they see her? I read an account that maybe she dropped some food off weekly, or can you talk about how they survived if they didn't leave the home, how often she came, and where she was staying?
There was no, according to the evidence that's been placed on the record, there was no physical contact whatsoever. And I don't think it's accurate to say that they had food dropped off weekly. Sometimes, right. Sometimes it was longer than that.
But
and
she was the one distributing?
No, not all the time.
Okay.
Not all the time.
And you had said the restroom was not, is that what you said? The restroom was not maybe properly functioning in there, but do we know if there was heat or air conditioning in the summer?
I don't have that. That has not been put on the record. But I do not believe that there was. I believe there was heat enough so that the children were at least able to live there. If not, as you know, given the cold temperatures, there would have been signs of freezing to death.
Where was she staying?
I don't have that information. Not there.
And obviously you've charged her, so she thinks I'm assuming then obviously there's competence. So not that there's ever a reason for something of this horrific nature, but any inferences to the why she just decided to abandon her kids beyond, some may think mental issues, but obviously not if you're charging her.
Right. Without commenting particularly on this case, as the prosecutor over the last over 4 years, you know, I've been asked, and I hear repeatedly that question on all of the terrible, violent, atrocious acts that we see, the why. And the answer is we don't know why. We can't get in the mind of somebody else. But we do know what the evidence shows, and we have the law. And nobody who is not found competent can stand trial. So I can't comment on that right now. But just to say that sometimes there isn't a why. Yes.
Is there any evidence to suggest that their substance abuse may have been involved or anything?
I can't comment on that.
Has mom been cooperative?
The defendant has an absolute right to remain silent, so any comment I would make on whether or not she's spoken to the police would be a violation of her rights.
Thank you.
Longer term, can you share what the plan is for the children? And some may wonder if family have taken them in now, how they didn't know about. I'm not trying to assess blame by asking, but you know, where were they prior? How did they not know? You know,
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of questions. Obviously.
Good question. And the thing that I want to stress here is that we are responsible for prosecuting all of the criminal cases in this county. We're also responsible for representing the Department of Health and Human Services in child abuse and neglect proceedings. So we are simultaneously prosecuting the criminal case against mom and the neglect proceeding pertaining to the kids. So we will be asking our client, the Department of Health and Human Services, to file a petition to terminate her rights. So there's just a lot we can't really get into, except I do want to say that our client, the Department of Health and Human Services, their number one priority is the care and welfare of children. And wherever they are placed, they do their due diligence to make sure that is a safe placement. And all I can say is that those questions were asked and obviously satisfied. And the other thing I want to say is there's been such an outpouring in this community, but I would just stress that in the effort to take care of these kids, that we also protect their privacy. And Pontiac, if those of you who don't know, it's a small place and everybody knows everybody, and any outrage is totally understandable, but we want to do as much as we can to protect their placement so that they are protected.
But to be clear, they are not wards of the state. They are with family.
They are in the care and custody of the Department of Health and Human Services, and they are placed through DHHS with a relative placement. Yes, the custody remains with DHHS until otherwise determined by the court. And again, those are two different proceedings.
Separate tracks.
Yes, that we are, there was a preliminary hearing yesterday, and we'll continue to provide information about that as that moves along.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.